Go down to Atlanta, where we find NBC News correspondent Blayne Alexander for us again this morning. Blayne, it's good to see you. What more do we know about the events of Tuesday night and about the shooter since we spoke to you last?
Well, Willie, good morning to you. You know, we heard from Atlanta police yesterday. We've kind of gotten briefings every day, or at least some portion of a briefing every day since these shootings unfolded earlier this week. Now, what we heard from Atlanta police yesterday is really making it clear that their investigation is just getting started. So, you know, we remember that there are two different jurisdictions because this took place over such a wide kind of span, almost this 200-mile stretch between where the first shooting took place and where this suspect was ultimately captured. So we're talking about two different jurisdictions. Atlanta police made the point yesterday, though, that they're facing two things. One, they're, of course, looking at a motive. They're trying to determine exactly what it is that led the alleged gunman to walk into three different locations here in Atlanta and around Atlanta and open fire, killing 8 people. They also made the point that, yes, even though he was apprehended several hours afterward, even though, as Cherokee County Sheriff's Office has said, they have been talking to him, they have been kind of interrogating him, there is still a lot left to uncover. You know, of course, the big question is, what is the motive there? Was this motivated by race, motivated by hate, a hate crime specifically? So they're going to be talking to, you know, there is one survivor. They're going to be likely talking to that individual. They're going to be finding out what, if anything, was said by this alleged shooter when he walked into these different places. So those are things that they're looking to uncover as well. Another thing that we learned from this news conference, Willie, is that, remember, there were 8 victims, 8 people who were killed. Right now, we only know the names of 4 of them. Only 4 of them have been publicly identified. That's because the 4 people who were killed here in the metro Atlanta area, they're having a difficult time getting in touch with their family, with their next of kin. So they've actually reached out to the consulate, trying to get some sort of way to contact the loved ones of these individuals to let them know what's happened. So that's another barrier that police are coming up against this morning, Willie.
Mike, if you look at the list of some of the victims who have been identified, it's important to tell their stories. There was a woman who was a customer there who had an 8-month-old baby who was killed. There was a woman who worked there whose child just graduated from the University of Georgia, the woman who would have turned 50 yesterday. We need to hear about their stories as well.
Yeah, as usual, Willie, those stories are so deeply touching because the lingering effects of this heinous hate crime will go on for a long, long time with the victims. And Blayne, I'm wondering, there was one victim in particular, a young man, I think from Guatemala, who was just walking past one of the places that was shot up, and he is hospitalized, apparently in very serious condition. Do we know anything more about the condition of that lingering victim?
We do, actually. You know, we understand that he is expected to make a full recovery. That's the good news. We spoke with the niece of that individual that you're talking about last night, and she kind of walked us through what she knows about those harrowing moments. She talked about the fact that her uncle was, in the moments afterwards, just called his wife and essentially said, "I've been shot, come here," repeatedly, saying this to her in Spanish. And she described the fact that as his wife listened to him on the phone, his voice seemed to continue to fade and get softer and softer and softer. Now, again, the good news is that he will make a full recovery. But again, as you mentioned, 8 people will not. Their families will never be the same. And I'm glad that you brought up the victims. I spoke with the sister of Delana Yan. She was the one that you mentioned was a newlywed. She was the mother of 2, including an 8-month-old baby girl that was just born last July. Her sister told me, and everybody that I've spoken to from the family just says that she was the rock of the family. She was the one who would always open up her home, let people come inside and stay there if they needed a place to stay. She threw parties, great birthday parties and holiday parties. So, you know, this is just kind of one snapshot of the many, many lives that have been fractured from Tuesday's events, guys.
NBC's Blayne Alexander in Atlanta for us. We'll be checking back in with you, Blayne. Thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.